Welcome back to the Pot of Greed.
Welcome back indeed, guys. It's another week, and you can probably already tell right from the top of this podcast, it's probably going to be a big one.
We got some Yu-Gi-Oh to talk about. We got some other stuff, but we do have a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
There's a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. And a Sony State of Play.
That did happen. Yes, that does exist. There was one thing I cared about.
Among a sprinkling of other things. So it should be really fun. Make sure that you, of course, before we get into the podcast,
put your ones up.
Ones in chat. If
Premiere
you are
gang, rise up.
Listening to the premiere, and if you're not, then just leaving a comment, saying hi, how you doing, maybe a thumbs up on the video.
Maybe you leave your review in the comments before you even finish watching the pod.
Yeah, share it with a friend. We could use some growth around here.
Or some controversy.
That too. Maybe not as much of it. Okay, so there's Yu-Gi-Oh! There are a couple of major Yu-Gi-Oh! Stories, but I think the first one that we should start out with is actually the new prize support that Konami is introducing for YCS events.
Yep.
So you guys will already know that this is a pretty contentious topic up to now. Like, people always say Yu-Gi-Oh! Prize support at the top level sort of sucks. We can't get cash prizes, and all we're getting are these like prize cards that nobody wants.
For years, you're getting those Switch one,
yeah,
Switch
the Nintendo
first generation
Switch memes. Who's is like Pack or somebody that has he made like a little throne of Switch boxes.
He's got a few.
Yeah, and it wasn't a pretty situation. Earlier this year, Konami did update the prizing a little bit. They added a new prize card itself. That's another verse Stratios. Is that how you say that?
Couldn't tell you.
And there's the whole like card trooper and effect veiler for top 16.
I like the card trooper. And I like it in general.
Yeah, top 32, top 16. There's also the day 2 participation pack where you can get one of these sort of anime based cards. And
kind of strange, but I get it.
Yeah, everybody who gets day 2 will get one, and I think some of them are worth a smidge more than others. Like I think the Blue Eyes and stuff like that. But there is a new announcement, which is that starting in the 2025-2026 season, get a load of this. Each North and Latin America YCS champion will be able to select a giant card of their choice to be created and awarded to them at the next WCQ in their region.
Now that's sick.
So right off the bat, what do you think about that? Like,
I kind of just said it's sick.
Huh?
I just said it's sick.
Yeah, like tell me. What makes it so
more,
awesome?
Say more.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you can only say one more in the podcast.
Yeah, that's it. End of the podcast.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's actually a really cool prize because you essentially get to choose your own prize. Mm-hmm. There are millions of duelists out there, and then I imagine there are millions of choices people would have for a giant card, because there's gonna be people who want the biggest, most best monsters, or maybe a very modern card as their giant card, but some people might like the cuter monsters. Some people might like niche spells that no one ever uses, but they're gonna get a giant card of it because no one else will ever have it.
I do like that one of one aspect of it. I think is huge. Like I've always said, and I think I've gone on record in this podcast of saying, like, the fact that they didn't give giant cards as YCS prizes was always weird to me. Like, because giant cards in general seem to be the most valuable of the Yu-Gi-Oh things. Like, take it from me as somebody who's tried to get a giant card for this podcast as a prop, the giant like Pot of Greed card. Yeah, people, some of those can get really high up there. We're talking several $1,000s, depending on the card. And, they offer them as prizes at public events. There's Attack of the Giant card, obviously. You can also get them from like the prize wall. But now that you can get a giant card by winning a YCS, I think that's like, that changes everything.
It feels so desirable to win a YCS now because you get to pick your own prize. Mm-hmm. And even if you've won one, now you want to win another because you can get a set of giant cards. What if you got the Ojama Trio?
Yeah, it feels very reinvigorating in that way, because this is a type of prize where they can always change each year's another verse card that people don't really care about. But like having a card that you can kind of stake a claim to, this was the giant card I picked. Like, you can pick the card art, like the edition of it and stuff. You can even pick the rarity. You're allowed to have a common, rare, super rare, ultra rare, or secret rare.
Yo, you gotta be some kind of sick to call to like I want the comment.
Yeah, I don't know who's getting the comment unless you want it to be like if you're like say is like some old vanilla that you like, maybe you want it to reflect the common rarity that would have been printed in. Like that could be kind of cool. Now there are a few stipulations. The card must have been printed or reprinted with the 2020 Studio Dice Shueisha copyright thing in the corner.
Okay, it's limiting, but most cards have.
Most cards have. You can tell why they probably did this, just to get Air Neos out of the pool of.
Don't even ask.
Pool of cards. Don't go asking about that. The card has to have been printed or reprinted within a TCG retail product. So I guess that means you can't get
only like promo exclusive cards are a no-go.
Well, I think it means that you can't print like a giant copy of an old prize card. Like another verse Glutonias, let's say.
Gotcha.
So it has to be something that was like printed in a retail product that anyone could have bought. The card must have the most recent card text, and then these card types may not be chosen. Any card that is currently forbidden, which is kind of interesting because it's like, what if a card was to come off the?
I wonder why even make that a limit? That's weird.
Yeah, that seems weird. I wonder what that's about. YCS prize cards. So that's
Fair.
just kind of more of what I was saying. WCS prize cards or replicas. So, yeah. Speed duel cards. That's to say cards with the speed duel watermark.
Okay.
I guess since speed
duel
duel
say any card that's been a speed duel.
Yeah, that's kind of rude.
Golly.
You can't have Flame Wingman or something. That's kind of rude. And token cards, which
that's kind of lame.
I wonder. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to have like a token, like a generator token scapegoat. Or a scapegoat token, an ancient gear token. And then of course, yeah, like I mentioned, there's some rarities allowed. So, question.
Yeah.
What giant card would you pick if you were to win a YCS? I know since both of us are going to be winning YCSs next year.
The next one I win,
we'll have to pick.
I'm for sure getting Ancient Gear Golem.
Okay. Would you want like any? I guess Ancient Gear Golem. It doesn't have an alt art, right?
No.
I heard somebody at the card shop I was talking to recently said that they would get Diabell Star like in her alt art, like where she's kind of post story.
That's pretty fire.
I think it is cool the idea of getting an alt art. I'd probably want Vanquish Soul Rosin, just because like he's kind of one of my favorites right now. But I also would not mind having like, if I was to go for maybe like an old school card, like I'm trying to think, is there like an old vanilla that pops up a lot? Like, you know, in retro rivals right now, like I've been playing like Injection Fairy Lily, so that might be sort of cool.
A Legacy of Darkness card would be fire as a giant card.
Or Jinzo.
Get a giant like Tyrant Dragon or Hino Kagasuchi, Yamada Dragon.
Yatagarasu.
A giant or a giant Troop Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that there will be a nice mixture of people who get like kind of modern cards, but I feel like people might lean more towards old school stuff because I think that the perceived value.
I don't know. A lot of these YCS winners, they didn't really play Yu-Gi-Oh back then. They kind of that new school of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
They like, probably want like a Cyberse.
I hope please not a Cyberse card. I hope that like.
Splash Mage. Oh, wait.
Ew. Oh, yeah, it's banned now. You can't. It's forbidden, apparently. Yeah, but it's crazy to think that you can basically just, like, will an expensive thing into existence. Like, just by picking any given Blue Eyes alt art or something,
yeah,
you're already, like, you know.
What if, because they didn't say this, but would it be funny if once they make a giant card of a particular card edition in print, no one else can do that?
That would be so cool. Yeah, it marks it off the list.
Yeah, it's just not. It's truly a one of one.
I don't remember if giant cards. Do they have? Okay, they don't have set codes. I don't think.
Ours don't. Right?
Yeah, I was just wondering. Like, it'd be interesting if like there were set codes on the cards because like that way, like it'd be interesting if it was like tied to the one YCS or something. But I guess that wouldn't be the case.
Maybe they can add that in. I don't see why they couldn't.
So yeah, I think that overall this is a net benefit as far as prizing is concerned, at least in my eyes. I'm
gonna need you to go win one now.
Okay, well you gotta win one.
You have to. I won't be able to pull it off, but you can do it, and you gotta get that Ancient Gear Golem. I got $50 in my pocket. I got $50.
Thanks. That sounds like a fair deal. I was gonna say this. You kind of mentioned it earlier. I do think this will reinvigorate a lot of people who've already won a YCS to.
I said, go ahead and get it.
Now you gotta win another. So like, even if you're Jesse Cotton, right? I saw him tweeting about this. He's like, yeah, like. This makes me want to win because I think he's kind of on like side quest mode, as some people have described it. He's won like a bunch of YCSs. He's been to Worlds a bajillion times. Like he doesn't really have any more to prove in this game. but a giant card that you got to pick.
Any one of his favorite cards. I imagine him, probably like a Crystal Beast or something.
Yeah, I know he loves Crystal Beast, but he also likes Tier. So like a giant Tier.
No, we don't need that. The world does not need a giant Tier card.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious for those listening at home, if you were to win a giant card, what giant card would you pick?
Yeah.
One last thing about that too is I guess they needed to do this given how cutthroat the YCSs are getting with these new time rules and stuff. It's like all these rounds of Swiss and 50-minute double losses. It's like you better get something good for the trouble.
You're gonna be sweating.
All right, time to get to the headline story of the day, which is Yu-Gi-Oh's new Genesys format.
That's right. This is not a fan-made creation. This is the new official way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Well, I guess it's not the only way, but it is a new official way.
No. It is the only way now.
So, tell us, Alec, what is Genesys format?
Genesys format is a way to play Yu-Gi-Oh without a ban list. Mm-hmm. And you might say, well, that's what traditional format is, or was. Well, this format, like traditional format, there are no banned cards.
The only thing that is banned is Links and Pendulums.
Yes. Instead, we've completely barred off 2 summoning types. And I mean completely. You cannot play a Link or Pendulum card in any of your decks. Funnily enough, you can still play cards that work with Links and Pendulums. They just won't do anything. Yeah. But and not just barring those 2 types of cards, they have put point values on many, many, many different cards in the game, and you can construct your deck with these point values in mind to meet point thresholds for particular tournaments. Let's say you're playing in a 100-point tournament,
which is the standard.
That means you can build a deck that gets up to 100 points in cards. Not every card has a point, but many of the more popular and powerful cards do have point values, and you have to stay at 100 points or lower for those style of tournaments. You can bump up the point thresholds for like your locals and for other events, but 100 is, I guess that is going to be the standard going forward.
And that's the rules, really.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Otherwise, it's normal Yu-Gi-Oh! No Pendulum, no Links, stay under 100 points.
Right. So this is interesting for any number of reasons. First of all, this finally addresses that Yu-Gi-Oh! Problem that we've all discussed at length, which is needing an alternate
mid-core format.
Yeah, we're getting there. Needing an alternate format. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Hasn't really had one. Like, it's flirted with many different kinds. There have been like generation duels and the school duel thing. They've tried to do like common charity and Heart of the Underdog and rivalry. And like they sort of get mixed amounts of support. Speed duel obviously happened and kind of isn't getting. This is it. Genesys format is it. And it's interesting because it's basically you're allowed to play with everything outside of Links and Pendulums. But because of the point values that are assigned to cards, your deck building is somewhat restricted. And that list of cards is pretty lengthy. It's like, 550 some odd cards or something like that. They've even already updated it once, which we'll get into.
You'd be hard pressed to think of an impactful card in the last 15 years that doesn't have a point value.
Right. And so the big thing that I noticed here is it's all about trade-offs. There are banned cards like Pot of Greed and Graceful Charity that are legal now.
Yep.
But would you be willing to put those in your deck over, say, modern hand traps and staples like that, or even say your own deck's engine starter type of cards, right? Most modern decks have their cards that would your consistency thing or your starter thing is probably on that list with some point value between like about 20 and 40. And so
the points aren't arbitrary. Because the standard's a 100 point limit, you'll see a lot of cards that say 33. If 33 means you run 3 copies of this card, and that's kind of it.
Probably it. The only other thing you get is like a 1 point spare.
There are 50 point cards. That means you can run 2 of this, and that's your entire cap. Or you run 1 of this, and then you only have 50 more points to use. So it's a pretty hard limit on what you can run. There are 100-point cards. They say if you run this, you won't have another powerful card in your deck.
Yeah, it's any degenerate sort of card, like a floodgate. Almost all floodgates are like 100 points or quite high. And even like the walking floodgate type cards like Darklaw are like 70 points.
Good luck.
Kashtera Rizehard.
Good luck with that one.
So I think that this is really fun because it means that like you really do have to make a choice with deck building. That's something I've always loved, is the idea of, you know, making players kind of choose. Now, some other things that Konami has said about this format is that, and you mentioned this before, the standard is 100 points, but local game stores can play around with that all they want. You could actually do like a 1,000 point limit or 500 point limit to allow
just insane.
Really powerful strats. But also, you could do something more like a 0 point tournament. And now
nothing
it's
strong.
Purely low power format. I think that adaptability is kind of the genius in the design here, because it's like Konami is retaining some degree of control over the format, but they're still like loosening the reins enough that players can sort of make their own fun and their own power level to scale.
Right.
So, early thoughts on this. I know I've seen a lot of reception and it's been generally positive. Some people are kind of doubtful. They feel like, you know, Konami's not going to support this, or that it's just not going to take off, or that it's going to be a broken, busted mess. When you saw all this, like, what were your kind of gut reactions? What comes to mind?
My first thought is I'd be a hypocrite to criticize it. I've complained way too much about the modern state of Yu-Gi-Oh! And how the types of decks I like to play don't really have a place in this game. To then turn around and look at a fairly honest swing at doing exactly what I want out of Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't really criticize it. All I can do is try my best to participate and find my own fun in it. Now there is a pain point. There a lot of like kind of mid-tier decks in the last like 5 years incorporate links and pendulums into their base strategies, and say they can't even function without those cards, and so they kind of get written off completely.
There's some real collateral damage I was noticing for sure. Like
my Plunder Patrols, you guys know I love Plunder Patrols, cannot play that deck.
Right. Another thing too is there are certain archetypes where like it's not a pendulum archetype, but they gave them 1 or 2 pendulums for support. Nouvelle comes to mind. Ryuge kind of comes to mind. Super Heavy Samurai to some degree. Like they've got certain pendulums.
So you said some degree. They have quite a few pendulums.
Yeah, actually they have a lot. I forget. They were an Arc 5 thing. I'm just thinking of like the non-pendulums that they've got. But yeah, you're right. So there are certain decks that just are really like caught in the line of fire here, and that sucks. But I think that optically speaking, it probably made sense to ban links and pendulums from this, because we've been through this song and dance. When you go to any non-core Yu-Gi-Oh circle, the number 1 and number 2 reasons you hear people say that they like got out of Yu-Gi-Oh in the last 5 to 10 years is the introduction of pendulums or the introduction of links. And like, it sucks, but like that's what people say. Like, oh, when they added those half monster, half spell, confusing double text things, I quit. That was too much.
Reality of the great Yu-Gi-Oh exodus that after Xyz, Konami kind of forced new mechanics
into things. Yeah,
I guess they didn't really focus group. They didn't test these mechanics all that well, because my God, the sheer amount of people that had it. But by the time like Arc 5 and all the pendulum stuff came out, they were done.
Yeah,
they were not about these monsters that are also spells. And then when links came about later, there were even more people like, oh, you killed pendulums, or you killed my
other
extra deck base deck because I have to use these stupid link monsters. There aren't enough of them. They got released way too slowly. I don't think links are that bad, except for Link ones, and then the extremely slow rate they went about printing the attribute-based Link monsters.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of unrelated, but just a quick detour. I think that there were basically 2 major sort of points of exodus from Yu-Gi-Oh. I think the first was just after Duel Monsters, right? That's like after the whole like early 2000s lightning in a bottle, a lot of kids playing, and they just dropped off because they got older. I think the second major exodus was Pendulum to Link, kind of just both of those almost in one. Like a lot of people just getting out because of that. Like they played it right up until they were like, this Pendulum's too much for me, or Link's too much for me. So I think that cutting them out of this Genesis format was probably a difficult decision, but one that, you know, it makes this look a lot more approachable, I think, for the lapsed Yu-Gi-Oh player. And that's certainly who they seem to be sort of targeting with this.
I just really hope lapsed Yu-Gi-Oh players, as we'll call them, actually hear about Genesis format.
So that was something that I wanted to ask you about too, is like, who do you, I mean, obviously if you ask Konami, they're going to say this format's for everyone, right? And they're right. Yeah. Like it's kind of for casuals, mid-core, maybe a lapsed player, a competitive player. And there's a lot to explore with that. But do you think that it's going to reach the people that it's maybe intended for?
No.
Okay.
Because it was announced through Konami's Yu-Gi-Oh usual channels. Mm-hmm. And if you are a former Yu-Gi-Oh player who hasn't really vibed with the game in the last like 6-7 years, you're not following the official Yu-Gi-Oh accounts anymore, and you're unlikely to see the sponsored, not sponsored YouTube videos about it because you haven't consumed a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh content in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Konami needs to get Genesis format in the places that old Yu-Gi-Oh players are.
So, believe it or not, I actually sort of disagree-ish, because when I see a lot of the official Yu-Gi-Oh, right? That's it, really. But when I see a lot of the official Yu-Gi-Oh social media accounts, like, you know, on Facebook, like official Yu-Gi-Oh TCG, you look in the comment sections of those, they're filled to the brim with angry boomers. Like,
that's Facebook. I mean,
but like they're everywhere. Like whenever I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all these places, it's like,
who goes on Instagram? Who goes to comments on Instagram?
I do.
Oh my!
I mean, God. I run an Instagram page,
I guess
so I kind of have to. No, but in all seriousness, like when I look at the comment sections, it's always people who are like, Pendulum's ruined this game. Go back to Battle City. This game died when they made, like, you know, the extra deck and the cards are too like these people who, in my opinion, should be like what you're describing, where it's like, okay, you clearly think that modern Yu-Gi-Oh sucks and Konami ruined everything. Why are you still following this goddamn Facebook page and commenting on it? But they are.
So these are the same people that be in our YouTube Shorts algorithm.
Yeah, it's exactly that crowd. Kind of
I don't know if we've talked about it on the pod before, but our YouTube videos have one audience. The podcast has an adjacent audience to that. But our YouTube Shorts,
yeah, it's a different crowd.
They hit a completely different crowd than anything we've ever dealt with.
Much more old.
They don't know who we are.
Yeah, they don't know us. They know very like old head, kind of like DMGX vibes, like just, you know, that type of player.
They typically like yell in the comments.
But anyway, what I was saying about this is like, I do think that those people, for whatever reason, still follow those Yu-Gi-Oh TCG pages and will not stop screaming in those comment sections about how, like, bring back the Battle City days or whatever. So I do think that this will reach some of them.
That's when I say Battle City was not all that. We played with those decks.
Yeah. So I do think this will reach some of them. That said, though, it ultimately, I don't think that it's like a format that will pull anybody new into Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that it will reach a fair amount of lapsed players. Whether or not they fully enjoy this is up to them, because like it still doesn't solve the problem of, like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh's so complicated to play. Like, right. The rules are still rough, and like, you know, chains, chain links, game state stuff, all of that's kind of still there. And a lot of those modern elements have still like increased in sophistication. So like, even if old head Joe, who quit in like 2013, 14, whatever, gets back into Genesis format.
Damn, 2013 means you're an old head.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's over 10 years ago. Like,
I was already an adult.
If he, you know, gets back into Genesis format, he will still have to contend with hand traps and, like, you know, a lot of that stuff. So,
but way fewer.
But it will be fewer.
Traps. I mean, right in the advanced format, you'd be hard pressed to get through 2 turns without at least like
One
3
hand
or
trap
4
getting
hand
played,
traps coming
yeah.
down. Like in Genesis format, they have put points on pretty much every hand trap you could possibly play. So I feel like even if Yu-Gi-Oh is still as complex as it's always been, you won't be faced with the challenges of that complexity at every waking moment. Even though it actually, Yu-Gi-Oh is complex at every single moment. I just think a lot of people ignore that or they don't acknowledge it.
Yeah, I think that to get actually back to the point system a little bit, I think that the point values were very deliberate. As you look at the list, you can kind of tell like there was clearly an intentionality to like appealing to old school players with those banned cards, because a lot of the old school people want like bring back Pot of Greed. Could Pot of Greed come back today? You know, that you just hear that so much. And
I guess we have to stop asking what it does now.
And the thing is, now you get to play it, but I do think that there's going to be a bit of a come to Jesus moment when people realize a lot of these old cards haven't aged that well. Like in the vast majority of cases, if you want to build like a deck, you're probably actually going to prefer your deck's own in-engine kind of consistency cards over running Pot of Greeds. Because Pot of Greed right now is 30 points. And that means if you wanted to run 3, you could have consistent access to Pot of Greed, but like...
Then you have 1 point.
You'll have 10 left.
Oh, that's right.
But the thing is, you're not going to have access to any other like good cards, really. Not many. So do you want to sacrifice deck power for the ability to consistently draw more?
Yes.
Things like that. Like, I think the answer will be yes at first.
I just want cards.
Yeah. I think the answer is going to be yes. And then people are going to kind of be like, maybe not. Because like Graceful Charity, Painful Choice, like they're on here too, but they have steep point costs. So
Graceful Charity is a card right there. That's a card.
So here's something for you. How are you going to be like engaging with Genesis format? How do we plan on playing?
Right now, my plan for Genesis format, actually for Yu-Gi-Oh in general right now, is, I've been playing Draco Tail in the advanced format. That's going to be my only advanced format deck now.
Okay.
For the foreseeable future, I will just have the one, and then I'm going to convert all of my other decks into Genesis format decks. And I haven't decided yet if they'll all be at the same point threshold or if I'm just going to build multiple decks at different thresholds. It depends on how our locals wants to run their Genesis events.
Yeah.
Are we going to stick to the 100? Are we going to move it around? Because I'll just start converting all of my decks into different point values of Genesis, and I don't really have a problem with that.
Yeah, I was thinking I'd probably do something about the same. I'll have like 1, maybe 2 advanced format decks. Most everything else will be converted to like a 100-point Genesis deck. And I think I'll build 1 0-point Genesis deck to have on me at all times.
Gotta keep that thing on you.
Yeah. I wonder, so another thing too is like, how do you see this? What do you think is going to be sort of the standard use case for this format? So do you think that locals will be adopting this?
Well, that's the thing.
What's going to go on?
The first thing that has to happen is local adoption.
Okay.
Because you have to have local adoption and you have to have like online adoption. Because a lot of people, they don't have locals or they don't like going to locals, so they play online. So we need the places where people play online, except for Mass Duel, because I doubt they're implementing this.
Yeah, I thought so.
They have to have point online locals or web locals, as some people call them. But you really need them at your local game store. That has to happen. These YCSs they'll be okay because YCSs always get fairly decent attendance. But if we don't see it at that ground level, this format will end up like, speed duels.
Yeah, I think the situation I'm envisioning is that basically people will... It seems like it could be a fun after locals event. I think I could see a lot of players taking it on in that capacity, where like even if you play, your advanced format locals, everyone afterwards is kind of exhausted and burnt, and it's like, okay, now let's play Genesis.
Absolutely not. I'm leaving. I need a shower and I'm hungry.
Well, the average card game player will stay there and play. What do you mean?
Why would you stay? You just finished a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. You're tired, you're hungry, you need a shower.
You are tired and hungry and need to shower. The rest of us don't.
Oh, y'all crazy.
Yeah, but no, I think it'll be a fun, like, after locals event. I do think local game stores will be trying this out, though.
They'll have to have it explained to them because so far what I've seen is the vast majority of local game stores have no idea how Yu-Gi-Oh works and definitely won't know how this Genesis thing works.
Yeah, logistics wise, that's another slight issue, and I won't give them too much flack because I've said in the past that I think that assigning a point value to cards would be such a difficult thing to do. They're doing it. They're undergoing that, and it does make it like a small accessibility issue of like. There's a list of 550 cards with point values. And you have to kind of like go on this page and like scroll through and find stuff that you want to run. So I could see a lot of problems arising with like people just running an illegal deck and not knowing that they
tracking their points. Like that's why this system desperately needs full neuron integration.
Yeah.
More so than ever, you need neuron, and neuron needs this feature so that to make the submitting of deck lists significantly easier. Because nobody's judge wants to have to sit there and go through everybody's deck list and count out the points, and they probably don't want to have to deck check every single person at the event. But
it's also true. Sorry.
All I was gonna say is, but if everyone has electronically submitted deck lists, it's easier to catch people with illegal lists more quickly.
Yeah, because the system just wouldn't even let you.
Right.
Like that's what I was gonna say. Is I think like you can probably use the honor code, but the thing is like this is tricky because like if somebody plays a Pot of Greed in a duel, I can just be like, oh, that's banned. Like literally, I just
Right.
But in Genesis format, like. If you play a Pot of Greed, fine, okay, you're running Pot of Greed as part of your points, but I can't really verify that your deck does or doesn't fit the point threshold from seeing any one card.
Like, for instance, if I'm playing Yu-Bell, right, and I've resolved Nightmare Throne, so I used a 50-point card. Yeah. And then later I play Pot of Greed, and it's like, well, technically that's fine. I've only played 80 points worth of cards. But, so I only have... am I only running one Pot of Greed and one Nightmare Throne in that list?
Yeah, and it's kind of tough because it's sort of going to be on your opponent to know not just
to track your points.
Yeah, to track your points because it's like I maybe am okay. I've built my deck. It falls within the 100-point threshold. I'm good. Are you good? Like, can I really know? So that's going to be something that players will have to get used to.
God, knowing every card that has a 1-point value.
I know, yeah.
Because like your opponent uses 2 50-point cards. Do you know all the 1-point cards that could be in that list?
And to be clear, we're not. I don't want to come across as like we're saying this is going to be a failure because of these reasons.
Once again, I said I'm not going to critique the format.
Yeah, but we are critiquing it to some degree.
No. I'm just saying what could happen, but I'm fully invested. I think it's a great thing, and
that's right.
Like, I don't critique this.
Right. That's right. No, I think that'll be something that'll come up. I'm trying to think of some other thoughts that I had on this. So Konami's made these series of articles that they've been publishing on the official Yu-Gi-Oh blog.
Way more than I was expecting.
Yeah, very transparent they've been about this whole thing. They've really explained...
Transparent and Yu-Gi and Konami in the same breath.
Well, it's funny because I have a thing about that. I'm going to get to it. If I forget, remind me to.
Okay.
Is like, they're being very transparent. They've made several posts explaining like some of their thought processes, their process of like, play testing and workshopping this. Those Rivalry of Warlords decks from the Nats this year were actually an early sort of beta testing of this format. And that's why some of them had cards like Graceful Charity and Pot of Greed. Mm-hmm. That's why some of them, none of them had like Link monsters involved at all.
But whoever made that Lyrillus deck needs to be like...
Those are the old Rivalry decks.
Okay.
Yeah. Like those are from like 2020.
That deck was a
They say they've been working on Genesis format for 2 years.
I think you have to work on a format like Genesis for at least 2 years to have any sort of competence to it.
That's what I was going to say, too. I think that it's going to be tough because, like, Yu-Gi-Oh's got a pool of just 12, 13,000 cards or whatever, and, like, it's always going to take a lot of time. And another big question is, moving forward, how's it going to be updated? They gave us a little bit more information on that today because they actually updated some point values already.
Yeah, they announced it like only 2 days ago.
They announced it on like Monday.
And then on Wednesday, or Thursday, I guess, yeah, for us it's Wednesday. They're like, point adjustment.
Yeah, no, it's funny because they claim that this is because like they stopped their playtesting at the end of August so they could focus on rolling out the format itself and the news. And they added some point values for cards that are coming out in Doom of Dimensions. But also, it wouldn't surprise me if they were sort of watching on social media and being like, okay, who's made up the FTKs on Reddit and stuff, so we can just go ahead and hit those cards. Because most of these point adjustments were based on what seems like oversights, like a lot of FTK enabling cards and kind of the rude stuff. Exodia deep draw type cards got a higher point cost. And a few things actually had their point values decreased. So that was neat. Another thing I wanted to mention about this too is I've heard a lot of players who are sort of appalled at like point values for things like Dimension Shifter being really low. It was worth 5 points. It went up to 10 points now.
Yeah. But
people are like, what? Like I can run 3 Shifter. This format's ruined.
It's not that simple.
And I don't think it's that simple. I think that as a real partaker in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think like I play a lot of different power levels of Yu-Gi-Oh, for a lot of the videos that we do. And I play a lot of Master Duel and all these things. The honest to goodness truth about cards like Dimension Shifter and Maxi is in this conversation as well, is that these cards actually get a little bit less potent the lower the power level of the format is.
I think cards, because of the lower power level, I mean, we've seen 100 points on so many very powerful cards in this game, so we can already tell this has to be a lower power format than we're used to. Mm-hmm. But the best cards in the game in the modern age have been cards that set some type of a condition on the opponent for one turn.
Right.
And that's extremely impactful because Yu-Gi-Oh games nowadays are usually decided within those first few turns.
They're short.
So
one turn is
one turn is huge. But in a lower power format where the games are kind of set up to take a little bit longer, you're going to see more games get to the 6th and 7th turn.
Yeah.
Having a one-turn floodgate doesn't mean much if your opponent's going to get 2 more turns at least after.
Yeah, and I think people are going to quickly find that out, that like, I think many players, from what I've read, they're understandably carrying their preconceptions from modern Yu-Gi-Oh into this.
Right.
And so by their estimation, it's like card that was broken and annoying in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's totally legal at 3 here or something. Broken, dead format. It's going to suck. It's going to be so OP. But I think that the only real way to find that out is to play the format and see. See for yourself. Put 3D shifters in your deck and like see what happens. See if it really ends up being as strong as you think it is or not.
Shifters only really existed in before we went into the full-on unbreakable board format, Shifter was not looked well upon, right?
Right.
But then when we started getting all these decks that would just lock you out the game on turn 2, then Shifter became a lot better because Shifter would buy you the 1 turn you need to build your unbreakable board. And now that once Shifter's over, your opponent can't get through it. In Genesys format, I'm genuinely curious how many unbreakable boards we're going to be able to get off with these point values.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I think they were very thorough in making sure that a lot of that stuff isn't on the table. And, just something else too is like a lot of the decks that would even run Dimension Shifter have been hit pretty hard in this. Like Kashtira is like Fenrir and Unicorn,
virtually
I think are
unplayable.
Yeah, that's very hard to really play a Kashtira deck. And so I think when you take that into account, the decks that would be running Shifter are going to be relatively weaker. Like no Kashtira, no Fluwanderies. I think the strongest thing that seems relatively unhit in points is like Exo Sisters.
That's hilarious.
And like Exo Sisters is not, an overtly powerful deck. And even if they want to run Shifters, and they're going to still have to sort of sacrifice on other staples to do so. Mm-hmm. So I think that it'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure I would like write it all off as just like it's a hopeless case type of thing.
Right.
I know a lot of players did come up with FTKs for Exodia, but even those I wouldn't be surprised to see them like the fragility of those decks to come back to haunt them.
It's easier said than done.
It
easier
really is.
built than played.
In fact, Konami mentioned this in one of their articles that while they were playtesting, some people in their like playtesting tournaments would opt for a lot of the older cards or some of the more like fragile, like Glass Cannon, Exodia type stuff. And more often than not, while those decks could take some wins, they ended up losing the majority of the time. And players gradually shifted towards wanting to spend their points on things like hand traps or other defensive cards that allow you to kind of interact compared to just, I'm going to do Exodia with Graceful Charities and Chicken Games and One Day of Peace and stuff because it's like, well, yeah, you get drolled and that's that.
Does Yada have a point cost? Let's play Yada Lock.
I don't think it does. I have this list pulled up here, and yeah, it most certainly is not on this list.
Let's play Yada Lock, everybody. We can play 3 Yadas, and every other card is legal. We can figure something out. I'm sure we can lock somebody.
Yeah, so overall, I'm trying to think. Any other just latent thoughts you got on this? Like,
I was looking at the blog when you mentioned it. Their latest article, the cost of prevention, I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. It shows a few equations. They're equations. Yeah, they're equations of what it would cost to run some of the more powerful cards in the game, and in fact, these are all cards that you could see in one single main deck in the current advanced format. That if you want to run 3 Ash Blossoms, that's 45 points, 15 points each. Droll Lockbird, 15 points each. Wait, am I reading this right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, 5 times 3 is 15 points for 3.
Yeah, 15 points each. If you want to run 3 copies of Mochami Perulia, 30 points. You want to run a Nibiru is 10 a pop. 3 Fualos, 21 points. These point values, they don't seem incredibly high if you're just running those cards. But when you want to start running these cards together, it easily eclipses the 100-point threshold. You can safely run maybe 2 sets of hand traps in your deck.
Something that they actually mentioned in this article, because I remember reading this a little bit earlier, is so they took those examples from like a top 64 Automata Ryzeal deck from the NAWCQ. That's where those point values are coming from. So they took their deck list and showed like, okay, they're running 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Perulia, a Nibiru, a Fualos, Triple Tactics Talent, a Prosperity, a Crossout Designator, and a Called By. So that would be 301 points just in staples. And
impossible.
And so they were making the example of like how a lot of players right now are having the term they use is culture shock when you first start this format. It's kind of what we were describing, where it's like, what? Like, I can't get all my hand traps in, or I can't get all my engine pieces or whatever. And they kind of go on to say that they designed it such that, yeah, you can't run that many hand traps, but in this format, you will not be as far behind as you think you are from not running hand traps like that. And they said that they made their board breaker cards lower in point value than hand traps. And so they said that in their testing, like, let me see if I can find it. They say, in Genesis, the more economical approach is a board breaker approach. Removal after the fact will cost you fewer points than outright prevention, with the exception of Solemns, of course. But they themselves risk removal. That is by design, as it's a key element of yesterday's gameplay, today's cards. So I think that's really interesting. Honestly, all of the transparency that they've shown in these blog posts, just explaining that process, is interesting because I think what a lot of players are having going on right now is they are taking today's mentalities into this format, and that's where the culture shock is coming from. Because a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, I'm getting on my soapbox for a little bit here.
We've
talked about this in podcasts before. A lot of people are terrified to their core at the idea of kind of not being able to play an optimal deck for the field.
Right.
The idea that, I have to run all of these hand traps at exactly the best ratios to see them all and like get my turn, because you know how that goes, right? Like
if you don't, you just lose before you start.
So I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want to try out this new format and just build all my decks the same way I did in the other format and just kind of play. But that obviously can't be the case.
Nope.
You're going to have to make decisions. And I am a firm believer to my core in Yu-Gi-Oh! Of like making people make choices, having trade-offs. I think that is the beauty and fun of like deck building is, or do you choose to run a riskier card? this card might not be as useful in as many situations, and it might be more situational, but like when that comes up, that could be the difference maker. And here I think is like this entire system being put like sped up to a 10, where it's like, okay, you literally can't run all those hand traps, but you have to remember that even though you can't run your 3-ash, your 3-draw, your Perulias and all this stuff, neither can your opponent.
Right.
So don't feel so scared. Like, you kind of have to like let go of the wheel a little bit and remember that like you're not facing off against decks that are going to be doing 10-minute combos and making unbreakable boards.
It will be quite difficult.
You're going to be facing decks that are doing shorter combos with weaker boards, so don't feel so terrified at the loss of the hand traps.
Unless they're playing Infernity.
They made Infernity a rough one to play in this.
Oh, did they? I didn't even notice they had Infernity cards on the list.
Infernity, what is Infernity Launcher is like 88 points or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So, yeah, so it's funny that you mentioned that though.
I thought that was going to be a blind spot.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that were looking for blind spots, and there have actually been some kind of funny ones where people are like, "What? They didn't hit a single Runic card. Haha, Runic's going to be top tier." And then you stop and think, there's no extra monster zone in this. You can't use the Runic spells to summon their fusion monsters. It's functionally impossible to summon a Runic fusion monster. Same with Sky Strikers. I saw people who were like, LMAO, Sky Strikers are going to be tier 0. They didn't hit any Sky Striker cards.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that's right. Play all those Sky Strikers and just not be able to summon Ray or summon like any of her forms.
You'll be stuck using all like the manga promo ones, the main deck.
Yeah, now it's funny. You could run like Engage just as a card. Like,
that's all it will be is a card.
You could run like Afterburners or whatever, Widow Anchor, but like you literally will not be able to make Kagari or any of them. So I think like it's going to take a little bit of time for people to realize that like that whole tense defensiveness that you've built up that modern Yu-Gi-Oh has forced you to kind of carry on your shoulders, you can your burden can be eased.
Relax, unclench.
Yeah. Unclench, right. Okay, I guess that's the format. That's Genesis.
So we didn't actually we didn't get into it, but what decks are you planning on building in Genesis?
Building, I'm not sure yet. Like I said, I am going to be converting pretty much all of my decks to it. Mm-hmm. Generators, Exo Sisters. I've got I have a Labyrinth deck. I'm gonna probably throw that into this format.
But is there like maybe an older deck that you mothballed for a while ago? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you know what? I might bring that into Genesis.
Sue Ships was something that I played once, and I was like, this kind of sounds fun.
No.
What?
Because I had to play in that game against your Sue Ships, and I don't want to deal with that again.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like one of those like eBay mystery decks. But I like those decks that get printed in all common. Like, same with Tenyi. I would like to build a Tenyi deck for this. I'm actually going to check the point cost like literally while we're doing this. Because
you do like your worms.
I like any deck that's like printed in all common. Like,
is Tenyi all common?
Well, they were printed as like rares or something, but
haha, there's foiling.
You know, like they were printed in very low rarity. Those like low rarity decks, I think, are very those are very fun. I'm actually looking up Tenyi.
I feel like the last time
Shuna's on the list, but it's the only one is 33 points.
I think the last time I loved the low rarity deck was Gadgets. No, there was one after that. Super Defense Robots. I like them. Mm-hmm. Is there any other low rarity deck that I loved? Performer Pals were low rarity. At one point, their only real hollow was Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Can't play that in this format.
Yeah,
you can. That. But fun fact, you can play Performer Pals because there was a non-pendulum kind of strategy.
I remember that. Some of those came in that first structure, like one of those early
maybe
structures.
I'll build that just as a funny kind of gimmick.
There's one last thing I forgot to mention too, which is that they're going to be doing like invitationals for this at YCS events, and next year in 2026 there's going to be a dedicated Genesis only YCS, where like the main event is Genesis.
See, if Genesis pops off the way Konami wants it to, I could see that being an incredibly bloated YCS.
I think it'd be fun. I think more than anything, I'm just happy to see the commitment to the format.
Yeah,
the fact that they're committing out the gate, like they say that there's like some special prize cards they're going to be offering, like Pot of Greeds. There's going to be like giant pot of greeds. I mean,
it's the only way you're going to get one, Paul.
Yeah, is it got to win this?
Got to win a YCS.
But also they whipped out like a 2009 Dark End Dragon, the original prize card.
That's a fire.
So that's really cool.
How long do you think it will take for there to be a meta game to Genesys Format?
Well,
there will have to be a meta.
There already is a theorized metagame buzzing on like Twitter and Reddit, but I think we won't know until after YCS Anaheim, which is, I think, next weekend. So that's where we will probably see the first deck lists forming.
It'll be hilarious. It'll kind of be a funny event because there's going to be a lot of people who show up to the event thinking they brought the best deck of the format.
I love that. I love that thought.
Someone has to lose in round one, you know?
Yeah. And you know what my favorite part about that is? This is maybe a little bit of my like cynicism coming out. Or not sadism, really. I love the idea of people who are so confidently wrong.
Like someone's gonna show up with Necros like this is the deck.
I think
nothing else competes with.
And that's the thing. That's the key to this. And I think like people, there's this tendency that you see online. You know, Paul loves Twitter and Reddit so much.
That's why we call you Twitter Paul.
Yeah, is like people want to figure things out so fast. They want to claim like this format's already solved and I've got it right. And it's like, good, bring that energy into the event so that when you inevitably find out that you were wrong about what you thought about these cards, you were wrong about what you thought about this format, it will hit the harder and you will really like have to hit rock bottom and reassess. That's the fun. I think a lot of people want to come into this format and be like, I took whatever the best thing is in the TCG Advanced format and just readapted it to this. Or I've solved it. And I'm completely confident that this is going to be the best thing, and therefore there's nothing to be found out about this format. But at that YCS, someone has to lose.
Now, I'm not a betting man, but I do have one long shot wager.
Okay. I've got one as well.
I am big on War Rock.
Okay.
Now, you're laughing.
I know. I know.
I honestly think this is a format where War Rock goes crazy.
I will actually add to that. I think that anything. So first, I'll go with my like sort of take. I don't even call it a hot take. I think what people will find is that this format is a little deceptive. It's deceptive because it goads in a lot of lapsed older players with the promise of being able to use banned cards. And like your favorite old strategy that got like hit on the ban list is playable now. But the reality will be that I still think because of how power creep in general works in Yu-Gi-Oh, it will still be largely weighted towards new stuff.
Right.
Decks released in the last few years are still just naturally designed better than your weird deck from like 2011. It's just how it is. But I do think that regarding your War Rock thing, any deck that is a strong, just like a mid-range control that slips through all the cracks of like the point values and will get to make full use of their 100 points on good bespoke staples will probably be where you want to look. Like that's kind of where I'm drifting towards, right? Like
I really think some of these like higher like level matchups are going to be against some spooky decks, things you just haven't really read through, decks you thought were a joke. Somebody I think is going to cry behind some Mimigols.
I do think that like a lot of those TCG exclusives that didn't quite make the cut for like modern play could be really strong here.
Ashened.
Yeah. Also, I think that a lot of people are going to have to suddenly get a lot more intimate with the hand traps you used to ignore. You know, the whole meme about like, be careful who you call ugly in middle school. I think that people are going to like realize that, well, if Ash Blossom and stuff cost you like so many points, but you still want to run hand traps, maybe it is time to like take a look at Skullmeister.
Woo!
No material.
Oh my God.
Right? Like, you know, kind of like Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Like these kind of alternatives to your Ash and Imperm type cards.
But then you have to ask yourself, are niche hand traps going to do it?
Are they even worth it?
In a wider format?
And that's the fun. Like, figure it out, right? Don't, you know, just rush to sort of see like, so-and-so said this is the best thing, so that's what I'm going to play. No, experiment, play it. Simple, bro. It's not that simple. That's the fun of like a new format with like new deck building. And I'm glad to see so many people are like experimenting with this because that's what it takes. Like, not everything that people think is going to be good can all be good. One last thing that I just remembered that we should probably talk about is they say that right now they're looking at updating this every 4 to 6 weeks. What do you think about the whole process of updating a format like this, like assigning new point values? They've already had to go in and do a few now, but
this point-based format will require pretty much constant like revision because when the metagame does shake out, if something incredibly toxic is at the forefront of this format in its infancy, that will kill it straight out.
Yes.
Like if someone finds a mill deck, an FTK, something just degenerate to like run the game with, the format cannot stick around for half a year.
Yeah. I think 4 to 6 weeks sounds pretty good. The only concern that I had from that was mainly that, like, for that more casual player who's not as like tuned in to the news, it might feel a little bit jarring to
you have to change their deck.
Kind of like constantly be given these revisions not even few months. I mean,
every month.
Like every month or so. And given that like it's already not in a digital client, please add it to Master Duel. That'd be cool, but I know you won't.
Really need that Neuron integration, y'all.
Yeah, at least put it in Neuron. It will be kind of weird to like be told, oh yeah, the point values all changed on Tuesday. So hopefully they can, kind of figure something out with that. But I think that being so attentive to the format is good for them to
Agreed.
do. So, okay, I think that's actually all about Genesys Format. It sounds great. I want to hear what everybody's building, what everybody thinks.
And that's it for our Genesys Format podcast.
Yeah, I know we spent a lot of time on this. We're like nearly an hour in, so it's time to talk about some other card game stuff. What do you have for us? I know you were saying something about Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I found it. Okay, so I found this article, and it says Magic's new Spider-Man set exposes a growing debate over Magic the Gathering's most popular product. We're talking about precons.
Oh, okay. Did Spider-Man get precons?
It did not.
Okay,
and that's what's kind of sparked the debate.
Okay, anyway, sorry, carry on.
So, Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, they released their first precon, that's a 100-card commander deck, in 2011. Officially signaling a pivot towards the format that's influenced the design of new cards ever since. And in the 14 years since, precons have become a marquee part of any new set. When Magic shattered its previous sales record earlier this year with a Final Fantasy crossover, its precons led the charge. Demand for some of those decks was so high, the price spiked into 3-figure territory. And that's crazy because the standard price is like $45.
Yeah.
So if precons are such an undeniably big deal, why isn't Wizards selling any for its 2 big upcoming crossover sets, Spider-Man and Avatar: The Last Airbender? The answer raises another...
Oh, neither of them have precons?
Neither one.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
The answer raises another, more complicated question. Who are precons for? This might seem like a beginner-friendly product on the surface and a quick way to get into Magic's most popular format, but many recent precons are packed full of complicated cards and synergies that could easily overwhelm new players. According to Corey Bowen, a senior game designer at Wizards, who's designed over 30 precons and also served as lead designer on Spider-Man, the answer is complicated and changes frequently. There's always a pendulum swinging on our pre-constructed commander decks. Should we be lowering the complexity? We're constantly evolving our commander philosophy. Maybe precons aren't the best new player on-ramp in general. We don't think of commander decks as entry level. Oh wait, this is actually Mark Rosewater this time. We don't think of commander decks as entry level. They are nice to get people introduced to the commander format, but if you're starting Magic cold, commander is not the simplest. Now,
okay.
Before I go any further, this was an interesting series of quotes because it feels like they're downplaying the usefulness and importance of precons despite them being some of their highest selling products and usually someone's first entryway into Commander. And then I thought, but these Universes Beyond sets are standard legal. Is there a chance Wizards is actually trying to pivot away from the Commander focus and get people into playing Magic properly?
I don't know. But here's what I do know. So I don't really know enough about Magic to really have an informed opinion on that part. But here's what I thought of when you first introduced this article. I thought that it was going to kind of be around the fact that like Commander pre-con decks are effectively part of the rollout of these Universes Beyond sets.
Well, they're about of every set.
Yeah, or at least when they were making them, they were. I guess they aren't doing them for some of these, but like they're part of like, the Final Fantasy set also has 4. There's like pre-cons. They're all released as this one big rollout.
Yep.
I think what ended up happening, at least with the Final Fantasy ones, is the pre-cons themselves became part of the hype wave, and that's where you end up with like the pre-cons getting as high as like over $100 each. And then they also made like those,
They made the
limited
collector's
edition
ones.
pre-cons. So I was thinking that this article was going to be more like, are pre-cons for beginners? Maybe, but when they're getting sold for $100, and they can't be, because how do you introduce your friend to Magic when he can't buy a pre-con deck to begin with because it's $100? So I thought this was going to be coming at it from a price angle. And in that regard, I think that Magic does need to like work on getting that down in some way. But since that's not what the article's about, it's more about like accessibility in terms of like card complexity and strategies. My thought here is like, I think that they are trying to fit a lot of unique mechanics into these cards. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah.
These Universes Beyond cards tend to like kind of have their own unique mechanics. I've heard from some Magic players that they are sometimes a bit power creepy. And so the inherent complexity there means that even if you're buying what's called a pre-constructed deck, it does not by any means mean that the deck is like easily understood.
From my perspective, I feel that I don't think Wizards likes the fact that these new sets come out, especially Universes Beyond sets come out, and then people buy into them specifically with the goal of playing Commander, and then that set kind of goes out of rotation, and people, they got their Commander games in, and they just kind of stopped buying product because they said, well, I built my Spider-Man or let's say my Final Fantasy pre-con. I have no more need of Magic cards.
Right.
But Spider-Man released without pre-cons, without that kind of easy way to immediately make use of those cards.
So it's asking a lot more of you in terms of deck building, I guess. Like you have to kind of learn these cards and figure out a whole way to make a deck on your own.
Or you build a standard deck. Takes less cards.
Oh, so you think this is a conscious decision to push people towards
That's my
standard.
theory, guys. That is not...
No, that's okay.
That is not based off of a lot of evidence. I just think that if the goal is to get people to buy these products and stay in the Magic ecosystem, I imagine they believe Commander isn't the avenue, because at least with Universes Beyond sets, they buy them, they play them for a little while, and then they leave.
That's funny because like that sounds like the opposite of what I tend to hear. Like people seem like they're annoyed that Wizards hyper fixates on Commander so much now. Like that's what I always hear people telling me is they're just like they design all the cards for Commander and it's ruined several formats of Modern and Standard now, and that like we've even been told sometimes like Commander isn't the sunshine and rainbows format that it's sort of made out to be. So I guess I hate that I feel so ignorant that I can't really say, like I don't have an educated opinion on it. I will add this though, that like the fact that even the sort of lead designers at Wizards are shifting their philosophy on these pre-constructed decks means, I guess, who would they say that the pre-constructed deck is for?
If I had to guess, the pre-constructed deck is actually not for their target audience. We've talked about how Wizards has clearly shifted who they think their target audience for Magic products are, and I think pre-cons don't line up with that. I don't know who exactly they think they're targeting, but for them to release Spider-Man of all things with no pre-cons, means they're not worried about missing out on the sales of those pre-cons. There's something else they're looking at.
Do you think that they should make the pre-cons less complex from what you've experienced with like Final Fantasy, for instance?
No.
You don't think they should?
I think when people buy those pre-cons, they are perfectly fine with them because they bought them for the characters and stuff on them. They didn't buy them because they're hardcore, or I'm talking about Universes Beyond ones. They didn't buy them because they are hardcore Magic players who are looking for different synergies and strategies to play with. They said, I want to play Tidus. I want to use Aerith. I want to play Sephiroth.
Okay.
Like, I don't think the complexity matters that much for the Universes Beyond buyers.
Well, I've got a Pokemon TCG story for us.
What you got?
A Pokemon TCG champion forfeits regionals after losing card during pop-off.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one. So the grand final of the 2026 Pokemon Pittsburgh Regional Championships, for context, regionals are equivalent to like YCSs in Yu-Gi-Oh for Pokemon, ended in bizarre fashion after Aban Ahmed forfeited his match against Liam Halliburton. So here's basically what happened. First, they give this synopsis of how these TCG tournaments work. We do not care. So, anywho, Ahmed had already won a regional tournament the week before to secure his invite to the Pokemon World Championships, which made his appearance in Pittsburgh his second straight finals appearance. Very impressive. But the pressure wore on him during day 2, where he entered into his matchup against Halliburton with 59 cards in his deck instead of 60. So, there's actually a video here. If you pull up the story on your tablet, you can watch it. But, the incident unfolded during the first round of the grand final match, where judges paused the match to perform a deck recount and found only 59 cards in Ahmed's deck. Tournament rules state that an incomplete deck is an automatic game loss, but instead of playing on, he chose to forfeit the entire match, handing Halliburton the regional title. So here's where we find out what actually happened here. Clips from the official Pokemon TCG stream later revealed what happened to Ahmed's missing card. During a pop-off in his previous match, Ahmed threw off his headset, accidentally knocking a card into his opponent's play area. Calvin Connor, who was running the same deck as Ahmed, then scooped it up with his own cards, unknowingly creating the short deck situation that ended the final. So basically, what happened is he won the round before, he was excited and popped off. In his fervor and excitement, one of his cards kind of got knocked towards his opponent's side of the table. They accidentally picked it up because the two of them were playing a mirror match, and so it's like, oh, it's one of my cards. And then in the next match, he had one less card, and he got a game loss. But it sounds like when they told him that he got that game loss, he was just like, you know what? It's fine. I'll just hand the victory to the other guy. Because I already won one last weekend anyway.
It's like, I already got my belt. But
yeah, funny story. So yeah, there is this little clip where we kind of get to see it happen, and like he gives the guy a fist bump or whatever, and like you can see the card fly over. So yeah, what do you think about this? What if this happened to you?
Oh, man. See, it's just one of those really unfortunate situations because he wasn't cheating. He wasn't trying to cheat. His pop-off wasn't about being BM. It was about just being genuinely excited and happy with your performance. And his opponent didn't steal his card. It was just identical to the cards he already had in his deck, so... He just kind of, it's a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way to put it.
It reminds me of what happened to me in my regional where like I didn't lose my card from popping off, but I did like after one round, one of my cards fell when I like was shuffling my deck or something. I didn't realize it until the next round that one of my cards was missing, and so I had to get a game loss for it.
I guess it is a little strange that they were in the final and they weren't preliminarily deck checked.
Yeah, you would. You know, that is a great point.
That's the last round.
That's a great point. You'd think that like they'd be like kind of counting out the decks and like, or was it that they were doing a preliminary deck check and that's when he noticed it?
And then even if you are doing a preliminary deck check in that round, I feel like because it's the final at that point, the tournament organizer should just went and got a copy.
Yeah, it's interesting. The incident unfolded during the first round of the grand final match where judges paused the match to perform a deck recount. That's interesting. See, I feel like deck checks should never happen like in the middle of a match.
That's really strange.
Or they maybe what they mean to say is like they'd finished game one. I'm assuming these are best 2 out of 3. They'd finished game one And then after game 1, the judges were like, okay, we're going to do a deck check. That's a little bit less intrusive, but I still think that you should not be doing that in the middle of like, because that's happened to me at a regional before, actually.
Right.
Where like, normally when they do deck checks, it's like just at the start of like the round, and then you'll get a time extension. But I did have one where my opponent and I were like right up, like the judge kind of just, I guess, was like hovering until they saw game 1 end. And then they were like, okay, pause, don't side deck yet. We're taking both your decks for a deck check. And I remember it feeling a little bit like jarring because like it was like a 9-minute wait while we just kind of sat there. And then when we got our decks back, we kind of had to like recalibrate a little. Like it takes you out of the zone, so to speak. So I don't really like the sound of that.
I can understand a mid-round deck check, but we're talking about the final. This is it.
Yeah, you think they would check before
you
that?
Check. It makes more sense to go ahead and check the decks before they enter in this like siloed off space where they kind of can't cheat unless they want like 20 cameras on them while they do it. I don't. It's very strange. And then if I'm running the event, I would desperately not want my last round to end in a forfeit or concession.
Yeah, I think for the person who won, that sounds a little bit unfulfilling.
Like at that point, go and get that. Go get them a copy of that card. Like
I agree. I think that it's a little bizarre of a way to handle
But
that.
I guess there was no real hard feelings. At least when I perused the article, it didn't seem anybody is angry about this.
I mean, I guess he chose to concede the full match. Like he could have. I guess he was given the opportunity to replace it and then continue the match, but he just was like, "Nah, like you got it."
I mean, it could have been one of those tension break moments, kind of like what you had with that mid-round or mid-match check. Where you're in the zone and then now this thing happens. It's confusing and like time has passed and now you're just kind of not in it anymore.
You know, it doesn't hurt that he'd already won a regional the last weekend, so he's already kind of qualified. So as far as he's concerned, I guess it's not as big of a deal. But
there's even a chance he intended to concede from the get-go.
He might have been a little bit.
Some people are. They're not as greedy with their victories. And sometimes someone's like, well, I've already got mine, so I'll just concede at the end of this game and let him have it.
Yeah, it could be that.
We don't know this, man. They're 10 times better at Pokemon than I'll ever be at Yu-Gi-Oh! And he can kind of do what he wants.
Right. I know you got another Pokemon card story
as did. Well.
There's a Dexerto one.
Dexerto.
The top.
Top. Aha! I knew that. NHL players' Pokemon card hobby causes teammates to lose respect for him. We've
That's
all been
sad.
there. We've all been hockey league pros.
Yeah.
Vancouver Canucks forward Jake DeBrusk says his unlikely side hobby has cost him the respect in the locker room.
And we all know you got to get respect in the locker room.
You do. Yeah. And other things. The 28-year-old winger admitted he'd been ribbed by teammates ever since an Instagram video surfaced in August showing him buying over $1,000 worth of Pokemon cards. They might not be ribbing him as much about the Pokemon cards themselves, but maybe the amount he paid for them. Maybe. I don't know. Once the camera came out, I didn't know if it was going to go everywhere in 3 days or 3 years. But then it was everywhere. So I can't hide it no more. It's a little side hobby I picked up, a little side hustle, and it's been kind of funny actually. See what the reaction is. While the Canucks leaned into it by filming a pack opening skit with DeBrusk on the golf course, he admits he's the only hockey player on the roster who actually collects. He says, they look at me differently, that's for sure. I definitely lost some street cred, so I'm earning that back. I do think it's crazy that you have to earn back your credibility because you like cards.
Honestly, that's kind of interesting that he's saying this because, like, I mean, obviously the sort of team culture will vary from sport to sport, area to area, all these things, team to team. But, like, it seems kind of like they were, like, very much playfully ribbing him over this. Like, right? Like, if they filmed a skit.
Well, according to DeBrusk, that redemption effort now includes covering coffees and team lunches.
What?
He says, I don't know if I'm just paying for everything now. It's getting a little suspect, not going to lie.
Oh,
okay,
so
now it's getting a little hazy.
That's very hazy feeling. Like
now you're paying for people's lunches?
You got caught buying Pokemon cards, so you have to buy the team lunch? Like,
I mean, if you got $1,000 spent on cards, I mean, what's a little $20 coffee? Pokemon Man?
Yeah, I'm wondering what
Pokemon.
What card did he buy? I see this. I see the skit that they made where he's like opening a pack.
Is that the Twitter link?
Yeah, that's the Twitter link.
So
it's
that's not it.
There's a skit. He just opens a pack and like he pulls. Oh wow, what is this card? There's like is this a Giovanni or something?
I don't know.
It's some. Oh, okay. In the skit, he opens a pack and the card he pulls is himself. They made him into a. This isn't teasing. They made him They made him a custom Pokemon card, and he's like in the skit, and he opens it and like. So I think that like it was like an endearing thing. Like I think,
I did find the video where he's at what seems to be some kind of Pokemon event or a convention, and there's a guy in his Gengar hoodie, and he's on camera. And he's about to spend some real money on these cards he has set out. Yeah,
so I get the feeling that they were just amused. Like, I don't think that it was really like teasing. It seems like they were just kind of amused because like people like those sorts of stories where it's like professional athlete likes Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, or it turns out like he plays whatever, like Magic the Gathering. And the fact that they like went to the trouble of like making him a custom card means that they're probably like someone had to know how to make a custom card. You don't just make a fake like Pokemon or Magic card. Like someone else on that team knows how those cards.
They probably hired somebody.
That means that I don't buy this whole like they bullied him.
So you don't think he's buying like coffees and lunch? You think he's a liar?
Yeah, that's right.
He's trying to get his 10 minutes of fame. That's what this is.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, now I'm looking at DeBrusque in a new light, despite the fact that today is also the day I learned of him.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Like that's how like all internet stories go. We see a headline, learn about a person in like 2 minutes, and then we have to like form our judgment. What do we think about him as a person? Judge.
I bet you can't play your position that well because you
have Pokemon cards.
What that possession is, I don't know hockey, so I couldn't tell you. Either you hit or stop the puck. That's what I assume.
All right, let's talk about this PlayStation State of Play.
Oh yeah,
this just happened. Funny enough, we were watching it like right before we recorded.
Yep.
These every few months, they'll do a State of Play, showcase the upcoming games coming out for the PS5, and this is kind of what it was.
Before we get into it, Paul, did Sony win the console war here?
Well, I think a more important question is how this affects Nintendo's legacy. So we should probably start there. No, we're not going to go through all the individual games on here.
Mostly because I don't care.
Yeah, because most of them, like, we don't really play. You know, it's actually funny that I saw a comment the other week where somebody said that we are terrible gamers that don't know anything about gaming. That's why we have such bad takes.
That makes sense.
So I figured it would only be appropriate to talk about games today anyway. Yeah. 35 minutes of reveals and news, including an extended look at Housemarque's game Saros. I just wanted to talk about some highlights of maybe things that we saw that stuck out to us. Anything that like really screamed at you? I know you did not seem you didn't seem like unhappy with it, but just it sounded like none of it really, a lot of this didn't speak to you.
I've talked about on the pod before. I've learned that I'm a very particular style of gamer. And so despite the fact that I saw a lot of very interesting games, they are interesting games for other people. I honestly didn't feel engaged in the event until they got to their very last game, which is Insomniac's Wolverine game.
Yeah, that one looked really, really good. I don't play a lot of those like Marvel Studios games. I know you've played a few. Or you probably played many, but Spider-Man, I know you played the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Was that by them too?
That wasn't Insomniac, but I did play the Guardians of the Galaxy. But Insomniac they made many games. They're well known for Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, the Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I guess now Wolverine. They didn't do Avengers. That was Square Enix.
Yeah, so very violent gameplay for sure.
Oh, I mean, you kind of can't do Wolverine without gore, since it's not like he has powers that you can kind of like flub with, like telekinesis or something. His powers are incredibly sharp, retractable claws.
Yeah.
And claws can only do the one thing. They gotta rip and tear.
Very gory. There are also other characters shown like Mystique, Omega Red, and a Sentinel.
It was really cool seeing Omega Red. Omega Red's part of, and kind of an intrinsic part of Logan's Weapon X backstory. And the moment I saw Omega Red, I knew it was like, okay, they're making a real Wolverine game. Because I mean, if you're doing Omega Red, that means we're going to see all sorts of kind of deeper cut Wolverine characters, and even mention going out to Canada, to Madripoor, to Japan, places Wolverine has made an incredible impact in like character and, well, mostly violence.
Yeah, I also think that it was a good game to end it off on, given that, the reception of this, I keep wanting to call it Nintendo Direct, the state of play has been a little bit lukewarm. I liked the first game that they showed, actually, which was Staros.
Oh, yeah, Staros.
That actually, okay, to be clear, I'm not that much of a gamer, so I'm probably not going to be buying this game. I don't even own a PS5. But I liked the look of it, mostly because it had a nice little bit of, movement-based gameplay. The character seems very mobile, and I liked that it sort of seems like there's a lot of, magic and effects going on. But it's not framed as, magic in the, fantasy spellcaster sense. And so something about just the vibe of the gameplay really resonated.
Yeah, I liked Staros too. I liked that it was a kind of like an action RPG, but it wasn't a Souls-like game. Despite the fact there is this kind of a resurrection mechanic in the game.
What do they call that? It's second chance. Yeah.
Because in Souls-like games, you're supposed to die and then come back, and you're a little bit smarter, a little bit stronger, and take those challenges again. But in Staros, you seem to get revived almost instantly.
Yeah,
so
it seems like there's some benefit to it too. Do you actually?
They say you get stronger.
They say you get stronger, whatever that means. That might be more I guess they're not being literal about it. Maybe it's sort of a.
No, I think when you come back, your character just comes back stronger. Not sure how or why, you just kind of do.
Okay.
But it did look like a very engaging game. So many games are more so many action RPGs are Souls-like with more slower, methodical gameplay. Mm-hmm. And this game, while probably still methodical, is more fast-paced, and I did like that.
That was cool. So some of the other games, I know you sort of recognize a few of them, like Neo 3 was one that I think you said that you...
Neo. I actually own Neo 1 and 2. I'm about 20% through both of them. Why? Because I'm really bad at Soul-style games.
I also know that there's Final Fantasy Tactics, The Ivalice Chronicles.
It looks good. It looks really good.
Crimson Desert, you said you knew something about that?
Yeah, that's by Pearl Abyss, the makers of Black Desert. And that game's been in the development for such an incredible amount of time. I actually thought it was done already.
Yeah, okay.
The trailer looked good. I thought it was already out.
Something that stuck out to me was that game Chronoscript, where you are basically you're trapped in a manuscript or something like that.
Oh, the Shueisha game.
Yeah, it's by a Shueisha.
I was really hoping you see a Yugi hair spike pop up in the corner of the screen or something.
We really do need a proper new Yu-Gi-Oh game.
We do.
Where
we do.
Not playing cards. But I thought that was really cool. It was they said that the mansion is rendered in 3D, but the manuscripts are illustrated in 2D, and so that kind of seemed cool. It's like an action adventure sort of 2D game.
It reminded me of Cuphead. That's the kind of vibe I got from it. Aesthetically, it's very different, but I feel like the genre and then style of it is similar with that 2D, 3D platform action thing, doohickey.
I saw Code Vein 2. That's something that I know you said you played the first.
Code Vein's the only Souls-like game I've actually completed.
So you're interested in Code Vein 2 at all?
I have to be, because seemingly there's the only parts of that genre I can finish.
And then one that I also saw you were pretty amazed by, maybe not interested in getting, was Microsoft Flight Simulator coming to PlayStation. I thought that was kind of quirky.
I was just at first I was oh, they're making a new one. I know people are going to make their PCs scream, but I I never know unless I'm crazy. I don't think Microsoft Flight Simulator has really been on like
it's never been a console thing
before.
really, because I think like it's always like this is just my bystander knowledge of it.
I guess I can Google it.
Was I always thought that it was like hard to run. Like you had to have a very powerful PC to run like Flight Simulator because it was just the physics and the graphics like were so much.
It made for such a good benchmark testing game.
Yeah.
Because the graphic settings are so modular, you can just kind of.
And so I always thought that meant that like, well, okay, but consoles couldn't run it. So I guess maybe now like we're finally at a point where consoles can.
I mean, I guess to some degree it's a flex, right? Yeah, Microsoft came to us and now we got one of their games. But it's also a flex in the PS5 is just as good as a PC. Look, we can even run Microsoft Flight Simulator. And from the trailer, it looks really good. It looked like they were getting a lot out of it. I remember I crashed my PC running it wasn't Microsoft Flight Simulator, a different simulator. But I remember I crashed mine trying to run a simulator. So it's a bit of a flex getting that thing off the ground.
What is the appeal of those? Like those flight simulator games.
So outside of just using them as benchmark testing games.
Yeah, like gameplay wise, like, and I'm not trying to say that like they're bad or that the people who play them are stupid. No, I'm like literally what is the appeal? Because I don't know.
You'd be extremely hard pressed to find a flight enthusiast who hasn't played Microsoft Flight Simulator. I've played on multiple occasions just because at one point I was in the airport industry. It's fun practice because you can get an entire like flight stick setup with the pedals, your wheel, everything.
So the immersion is almost.
You can get so immersed, and the complication of flight is fairly honestly reproduced within the game.
Okay.
I'm not saying if you can fly in simulator, you can fly in real life, but like you're not gonna get closer to the real thing than that.
I guess the reason I ask is because like whenever I see trailers of Microsoft Flight Simulator, it just seems like it's like a plane is flying by. I was like, I was always like, okay, like what's the like? But I guess when you're playing the game, you are the one.
Yeah.
So that's not something that they can convey in a trailer. It's just something that you, the player, will experience. Okay, I got that.
It's difficult and it's fun. Sometimes, like I would say, the hardest and most challenging part about Flight Simulator is landing the damn things, and because like. You'll meet people who've played.
Oh, you have to land them?
How? I mean, you take off. What do you think happens next?
You see a results screen, and like you just get a like A rank or whatever. No, okay.
No, I mean it can take hours to even figure out how to land them damn things, and you can fly virtually any type of plane that's existed. All of them, none of them fly the same. Between flying little Cessnas to fighter jets.
So you really are like even just the physics. And
the physics makes a huge difference, and there's a huge like wave of accomplishment you get when you actually manage to land a plane in that
successful
game.
Flight is like a big deal. Okay, I didn't know that. So is this the first one that they've released on console?
Oh yeah, I meant to check that out.
I guess maybe it's in this article.
I think it might be.
Okay, it was previously exclusive to Xbox and PC, so I guess it was on Xbox Series.
But it was never on PlayStation.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. A couple of other things.
Sony said we can do better.
There are some peripherals that were shown, like this DualSense wireless controller God of War 20th Anniversary Edition.
What's MSRP on that?
Well, first let's explain what it is. It's a PS5 controller
with a red stripe on it. That's it. That's the whole thing.
That's pretty much it. Designed to evoke the legendary ghost of Sparta's ashen skin and scarlet tattoo, the controller pays homage to Kratos, who has taken on countless roles and endless challenges across ancient Greece and 9 realms. The official description reads, guess how much it costs,
Alec. Should have put hair on it for his beard.
I guess it's true. Maybe there's some on the back. Like on the back of the controller. Guess how much it costs?
Let's see. 100.
Okay, you're over. It's $84.99.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sitting here like, what the hell? Like, what?
Oh, isn't that? That's not much higher than a normal.
I guess the normal controllers I think are like $70.
Are they 70? I thought they were already 80.
Maybe they are. How much is a normal?
See, we don't know things on this podcast.
Well, no, it's just that now thanks to tariffs, like everything is like you just don't know. Like sometimes
what's the name of these controllers? These are DualSense,
DualShock, or DualSense, yeah.
DualSense.
This PS5 DualSense controller.
Okay.
Yeah, just look that up and see what the like MSRP at like Best Buy or whatever.
All right,
GameStop
I'm seeing Target's got them for $79.99.
$79.99.
Walmart. Now this is a deal at $64. Though I see.
So they probably MSRP it.
I see 75 that they have slashed through.
So they're like 70 to 80 bucks.
70 to 80 bucks, and they have a lot of special edition versions, and they seemingly all start at 84.
Christ.
Yeah, that's what you got.
That just, I guess, like, you have to really be a fan, huh?
You gotta really be a fan.
Have you noticed with like gaming consoles? I don't even feel like do you even buy extra controllers? Like, so few games feel like they have like even split screen co-op now. It's like, I guess you're only buying one to either be a collector, like I got the Kratos controller, or literally if you play one of the like handful of games. If
you're a fighting game player, it makes a lot of sense to have more than one controller. Because now another dedicated player will have their own controller, but you know, one part about being a fighting game player is getting non-fighting game players to lose to you.
Here's another one. The official PlayStation wireless speakers. So Sony revealed its own branded wireless speakers called the Pulse Elevate. They're designed for use with PS5s or even a desktop PC gaming setup. And they can also work with your PlayStation Portal or even your smartphone if you choose. They come as a pair in both midnight black or white, and they feature a built-in microphone with AI-enhanced noise rejection, so you can even use them for voice chat. We don't have a price yet, but they'll be out in 2026.
I honestly don't have much of an opinion on them.
Neither do I.
Because my takeaway from that trailer was, oh, I could plug my PS5 into my monitor. Never did that before.
Yeah, which is actually a pretty cool thing to do. If you have a gaming monitor where it's like 165 hertz or something like that.
But I'm an old head like console player. Consoles are always hooked up to TVs. It never occurred to me and it's a shame because you know what sits literally next to my PC, my PS5, and I never turn it on because I never turn the TV on.
It is kind of strange the way that goes, huh? Like just remembering that, like, yeah, you can just plug it to your, because like, I mean, if you sit at your desk fairly often, then it kind of does make sense that could also just be where you game. And I know you play PC games, so there's not really any difference between playing a PC game or playing a PS5 game.
Input and call it a day.
Yeah, so.
Or DisplayPort input.
Okay, here's one other quick related Sony thing that I saw earlier this week. And like, this is small, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. Okay, so Sony announces Franchise Rewards, a time-limited physical merch program with items locked behind trophies. So here's the gist of this. It starts with Ghost of Tsushima and the upcoming game Ghosts of Yotei.
Okay.
And you know that there are like trophies in PlayStation games that you can get.
Right.
Apparently, if you can get like some of the high-end trophies in certain games, only players who have gotten those trophies will be able to exclusively purchase physical merch for that game. What do you think about that? So
you get the trophy, and that means you can now buy the merch for the game you already paid for. Yeah, you've sunk hours in to get these trophies. Yeah, and now your reward is being able to buy.
Yeah, here's what they say. Sony's announced Franchise Rewards, a new program that grants players the ability to buy physical PlayStation merchandise if you unlock specific in-game trophies by a certain date.
A date, so that means the merch is going to go on sale to everyone after a period of time. Then,
or it'll be exclusive and be gone forever.
I doubt that.
Well, you know what's funny is that either one of those is frustrating in their own way. Either one is just kind of, because either it's like, okay, like Alec, you have to beat this game by like the end of October so you can buy the exclusive merch, but then it'll go on sale for everybody. Or you have to beat it by October to buy the exclusive merch or never be able to buy it again. So the scheme kicks off with Ghost Rewards unlocked by earning specific trophies in Ghost of Tsushima before December 31st, 2025. If you've unlocked the Mono no Aware Gold Trophy, you'll be granted the ability to pay $30 for a That's
such a capitalist sentence.
It's so hard to like take this seriously. Oh my god. If you unlock the trophy, you'll be granted the ability to pay $30 for a commemorative t-shirt. Unlock the Living Legend Platinum Trophy, and you can additionally choose to pay $25 for a commemorative pin.
Oh, yay.
You'll also then need to pay shipping on top, with standard delivery priced at around $13 within the United States, or expedited delivery for $25.
Yo, this is such a trap. I'm not going to say it's a scam because it's not. No one's forcing you to do it.
Here's the
but
stuff,
it is
by
a
the
trap.
Way. There's the,
I'm looking at a picture.
Yeah,
of it
okay.
now.
I got their shirt. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah, this is such a trap because the idea that they're trying to bank off of is if you play these games enough to be a trophy hunter, right?
Right.
You take pride in your trophies. You like showing off to people how many trophies you have. Or they're like, well, hey, you want a physical trophy? And you're like, wait, how do I get a physical one? Well, we have exclusive merch you can only get by being a hardcore gamer just like you. Really? That's right. You can show off to all your friends your limited edition Ghost of Tsushima t-shirt that no one but dedicated gamers like you can have. Wow! And so all you gotta do is spend $30. Only $30 for a trophy?
After you spent $80 on the game.
Exactly. It is tacking it on. So if you get into a game, they want you to spend like $120 instead of the $80.
It's so hyper capitalism coded. Like, it's just pay to be able to earn the right to pay. Like, that's what I'm hearing. But also, like, I'm sorry, but this shirt is like, come on. Like, I mean, it's a logo tee.
But it's exclusive.
And like the pin, gray.
Other people can't have it because they're not dedicated like that.
I think that a program
gatekeeper
like this
shirt
should have been like, I know that platinum trophies are typically kind of difficult to get, right?
Yep.
And if you want to view like this as like a loyalty program, like, you like banks and credit cards and stuff have these loyalty programs. I think if it was like a thing where only a few players managed to get this like premium platinum trophy, and like if you were able to get it before a certain date, you are given something like for free commemoratively, I think that'd be really cool. Like, you make an extremely hard to accomplish trophy, and like the expectation is probably just that like maybe only 100 players will even get this by the allotted time limit, just because it's that hard. And then those 100 players will get something exclusive. That'd be a nice, I think, show of good faith. Like, hey, we appreciate that you take this game so seriously. You're one of the few. It can be a gatekeeper product. Why are we? You've earned the right, Alec, to pay $30 plus $13 of standard shipping.
I mean, they can't lose money on this, ball.
I know, they just can't. All right, well, we've got one last gaming story. Actually, I guess like two. We've talked a lot about Sony and all that, and PlayStation. Well, Microsoft has a bit of a rebuttal to all this Sony news.
They're not going out.
They're not going out in a fight because Microsoft is raising prices on Xbox consoles in the United States.
Damn it. That is not the way I thought they were going to fight.
Well, Microsoft is raising the prices of the Xbox Series S and X consoles in the US next month. So you might remember, does this sound like deja vu? If it does, it's because they actually increased the prices of the Xbox Series consoles once in May, and we talked about it on this podcast.
We did, because then we said, well, I guess there's no reason PlayStation won't do it now, too. And then they did, and now they're doing it again.
And now Microsoft is doing it again. At the time, they increased all the Xbox prices by roughly $50. This time, they're going up by about $30 each. So the Series S 512 gig goes from $380 to $400. The 1 terabyte one goes from $430 to $450. Series X goes from $600 to $650. X Digital goes from $550 to $600. And the 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition goes from $729 to $799. Long story short, all these Xboxes that were already a little bit more expensive are now a little bit more expensive. And I just like, of course, Microsoft cites changes in the macroeconomic environment, which I really wish more companies would just say the word tariffs so that we could, kind of have a bit of a source for these things.
They don't want to be political. They don't want to take a side. They don't want it to be a left or right thing. They want this to be about the macroeconomic climate.
Right. This one's rough, mostly because Microsoft has already had it rough this generation. They really have.
It's not like these Xboxes are flying off the shelves.
They aren't. They're perceived to to have lost to Sony. And the PS5 is what a lot of kids want. It was already rough to increase those prices once. But if you're trying to tell me that like I'm expected to pay, $650 for like a Series X, I just like, who's going to do it?
I mean, it's still less than a cell phone.
I guess so. Well, I mean, there's lots of budget phones you get for less than that.
Yeah, but
I know what you mean.
We don't do that.
It's just like
that new iPhone.
Right. It's just crazy. Like these prices are so high. Who could be convinced to buy an Xbox for this price?
What kind of phone you got there?
I'll buy a smartphone for this price. I'm just saying, like who can be convinced? Come on. It's just, that's rough. Now, here's the good news. The pricing for controllers and headsets will remain the same for now.
For now.
So,
I mean, if they're going to raise the price on the console, I guess you might as well raise the price on the peripherals again. I mean, why pretend like you're not, you know?
it's really harsh. I don't like this. But that's just a quick little update. I want to know if any listeners that don't already have an Xbox Series console were planning on buying one, and if you still are, given these. I imagine that if you're going to be spending this much money to begin with, you really might as well get a PlayStation.
I think it is crazy to do this right before the holiday season.
Yeah, that's harsh.
It's going to be rough because I know somebody out there was plotting on this.
All right, here's my last gaming story.
Bring it home.
And it gives us a little bit of AI as well. You know, we like to have a little AI.
No. You know what? Let's just end the pod here.
We love a little AI. Google's turning Gemini into a gaming sidekick with a new Android overlay.
Oh, Jesus.
You look very thrilled. So the AI-powered overlay is one of several ways that Google's trying to make Google Play a better gaming platform. Now, this is relevant to you because you use Google Play.
I do.
Yeah, you're a mobile gamer. Google might have found a way that Gemini could be useful while you're playing games on your phone. It's introducing a new software overlay that it calls the Play Games Sidekick. It'll give you access to Gemini Live while you play, alongside a host of other gaming-focused updates that can make the app platform a better home for gamers. So Sidekick exists as a small movable tab in games downloaded from the Play Store that you can slide over to show relevant info and tools for whatever game you're playing. By default, that's going to be things like easy access to a screenshot button, screen recording tools, and a shortcut for going live on YouTube. But you'll see achievements and other game stats in there too. Which so far, that's not really AI, that's just features.
Yeah, it's just an overlay.
But Google's most interested in how Sidekick could serve as a delivery system for Gemini. So AI plays a large role in how Sidekick actually helps you while you play. That includes offering a curated selection of game tips that you can swipe through and a big button that you can press that starts Gemini Live. Based on a demo that they ran for the press, it does seem like it could be a competent guide for navigating games. It was able to offer strategies for how to best start a game of the Battle of Polytopia and told game-specific jokes that were only funny in how awkward they were. And since Gemini can accept screen sharing as an input, it was also able to offer its guidance without a lot of context from the Google project manager running the demo. So you're the mobile gamer here.
I am.
You're going to be enabling Google Gemini Sidekick while you play your mobile games to get valuable advice.
I don't need valuable advice. It's a mobile game. What do I need to tell me?
I saw on one of these screenshots, I guess I'm going to have to pull it up. It seems like it's basically going to sort of, like, here's what I see in the screenshot. I keep getting outscored. This person's playing a soccer game. I keep getting outscored. Help me brainstorm some ways to edit my team for a more balanced attack. And then Gemini says, you're currently using a 4-3-3 attack formation. What kind of playstyle are you going for? And they say, I like an attacking playstyle. And they say, the 4-3-3 attack and the 4-2-4 could be good options. They both focus on getting more players forward for more chances. So, like, that's an example of you are playing this game, you need help, you ask your sentient phone for advice, and it kind of spells out some options for you. I interrupted you, so I think you had a thought.
I got nothing.
Okay.
Not interested.
Okay.
Like, because I just don't know what, because I play a lot of mobile games, but I don't know what questions I would need answered. I mean, I Google things about the games I play all the time, and I guess
if that's offered in-game, that saves you a little time.
I guess that, as a little overlay, I could just ask the overlay thing. I guess that could save me some time, but I don't think I need it. I guess that's my thing. I don't feel like I need that. It could be helpful, but am I going to go out my way to, like, install and enable?
Yeah.
Probably not. They'll have to, like, just surprise it on my phone. Like, ha, it's here.
That's actually probably exactly how it's going to be.
That's how they're going to have to
disable it.
Because I have no interest in, like, the sharing features. I don't stream my games. I don't need to take screenshots. That's not interesting to me at all.
I think that the most optimistic, charitable interpretation of this that I can give is that it's probably kind of useful for younger players. Like, I guess if you're like a kid or a teenager, which like having a smartphone as a kid is still baffling, but that's what I get being a millennial.
I had a Game Boy.
But yeah, like if you're a kid, then like it's kind of useful for the game to be able to quickly give you some sort of bespoke advice based on your situation. Would I trust it? I don't know. I mean, like it's Gemini, so like, But the more cynical part of me says this. I think that these AI companies, increasingly as we like cover a new story every week about like some feature and then some rollback and some feature and some rollback and like, we got to protect these teenagers. Someone died, whatever. I think that they seem so desperate to like just, it's like AI feels like a solution looking for a problem. Like,
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It seems like they're always kind of like, look, guys, we invested a lot of R&D and like money and data or whatever on this program, and we kind of really need it to just impress somebody already. And
find a use for it.
Yeah, and like they're just we're gonna put it here, and 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 like hopefully, please somebody let one of these take off and like be the big thing because we told our investors it would be.
Here's the funny thing that I expect out of this program, that some like that guy asked about how to. What was the question about soccer? What was it?
Yeah, like I keep getting outscored. Help me edit my team.
So I'll tell you a very possible and probable answer the AI will give you.
Okay.
Your team is underpowered and underleveled to beat this opponent.
Buy more.
Go hit this store icon and buy the $25 package to hopefully spin, or I don't know how this game works, new characters to upgrade your roster, and then you'll win.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, buy the $70 package. And if that doesn't work, buy the $99 package.
Like, do you think, and like just in all honesty, is there like anything that these little AI sort of like side function, is there any aspect of your life where you think that you would just want these AI things to be like on your phone, like, or something for you? Like
there in life, you will be there are situations where you will have questions that Google is struggling to find an answer for. And in those moments, if the AI is not conveniently close by, you won't even think to use it. Mm-hmm. But so in some weird way, they kind of have to just put AI close by to you at all times, because they can't predict when you will have that dilemma that you're like, I don't know what to do. Most people, right when you're ready to give up, is when AI is the most helpful. But it needs to be right there, and I think that's where this will come in, where right when you're frustrated with your game, you went to YouTube, you looked for guides, you can't find anything, but if it's right there on your screen, you might click, and the AI will probably help you find the answer you're looking for. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that something cool I saw, I don't have a story on this, is that I saw that like Meta, they have their new like Meta smart glasses thing that they just debuted like this past week. And there's like one of them where like you're wearing these sort of sunglasses type things. They're a little chunky, but it's impressive how much smaller they've gotten them. And you just have like a little screen that's like in the kind of corner of one eye. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of reminds me, I guess, of Google Glass or whatever. And you can use like Meta AI, and it'll just like show you. It's not quite augmented reality because it's not really like it's implanted over like your physical world. It's just always there in that one static way. But you can, I guess, access maps, access search, talk to the AI. Like, I feel like that's probably what it's going to take for most people to
that convenience. It has to just be
using it
there and remind you that it's there, but not in a way that's annoying. It's a weird balance they have to strike, because I feel like if I had those glasses and I had a little AI assistant popping up every 5 seconds, I'd break the glasses.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is as good a time as any to do a little pot.
Yeah, let's answer some questions from you guys.
Yeah, we've got some viewer questions. As always, you can submit them at the link below, or you can use the YouTube community feature. I'll try to pull them from each. I do not mind. We've got some pretty juicy ones this week as well. And I just got to pull them up because they just suddenly disappeared from my tablet.
Yay, we love disappearing questions.
All right, here's a good one. Hey, Paul and Alec, do you guys have any good and or bad stories of old video game / movie rentals growing up as a kid? When I was younger, rentals were the thing that made my weekend when my parents got one, and it always sucked when you got a bad game or movie that you were stuck with on your days off from school. I'd love to hear both of your experiences and to hear about things that have stuck with you in a positive way or pissed you off even to this day. All these years later, from Oscar.
Thanks, Oscar. This is a very nostalgic question.
It does. It brings me back. How often did you or like your family, I guess, rent like games and movies as a kid? Like, were you guys like every weekend?
We didn't rent a lot of games, but movies were pretty common. Movies happened damn near weekly.
Okay, yeah, my family was a mix of both. Like, not we basically only really rented like movies pretty much when like family was coming from out of town or something. So it wasn't like a just every week thing. But as for games, I think I rented. Or at least I had a period of time where I rented games as often as I feasibly could, because obviously I couldn't afford to buy like a $50 game, but a $6 rental was nice.
For me, Blockbuster was like GameStop.
Yeah, Blockbuster for sure.
We loved going there, and there's so many movies that I wouldn't have seen if it weren't for movie rentals. And there were quite a few movies we would rent like multiple times because Alex and I, we just liked them so much. As far as like a bad rental, it's hard to think of one specifically because, yeah, every so often you would get a VHS tape that
isn't that crazy, a VHS
damaged
tape?
Yeah.
So old.
The old VHSs. Y'all don't know about that. Y'all young.
Yeah,
y'all
people.
Don't know what that life was like.
Yeah, we did. I did get some broken ones.
Yeah, you get the broken ones.
Scratched DVDs.
Oh, we've had the ones where someone recorded over them.
Oh, I haven't had that.
Yeah. People would record over a tape and then return it to Blockbuster.
Was it ever like anything inappropriate, or was it just kind of like?
For me, it was always a different movie.
I remember. I'm trying to remember like how much they cost. I remember like game rentals were always a little bit more than movie rentals.
We never got to rent games, so I have no idea. Well, no, we did it once, but I don't even remember what the game was.
It's like I remember like movies were like maybe $3 or $4 or like $5 maybe. Like certain like the new movies would be. Was it either for the more either they were?
That's how I played Dirge of Cerberus. And that's where the frozen Dirge of Cerberus. I think I talked on the pod before, but I played Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus. And I couldn't remember why I had Dirge of Cerberus, but I got to a point and I fell to the floor in the game, which is kind of done. And I just remembered it's because I rented it at Blockbuster.
Oh, so it did expose you to something.
Yep. I forgot.
Yeah, I think I remember like my favorite thing about renting games was just the fact that because you had memory cards. And like I was renting mostly like GameCube games, it meant that I could try out a lot of games and even rent a game like for a week at one time, and then like maybe several months later I'd rent it again. I'd still have like my save data, because that's something that you wouldn't have necessarily gotten with like if you were renting things during like the NES or Super NES days. A lot of those games like didn't really allow saves and stuff. I remember when new games and new movies came out, there were oftentimes like shorter rental periods because like more people wanted to watch this movie. Right. So like you can only rent it for like 48 hours as opposed to
no, Alex and I, we were always hounding for like different like Pokemon movies, the Digimon movie. That was one
we rented the
Digimon movie
all the time.
A few times.
Scooby-Doo was like one of our
the Scooby-Doo.
It was one of our like
movies.
comfort.
There's a lot of stuff that we watched that we never would have watched if they weren't offered at Blockbuster to rent.
Yeah, like I know we sometimes get into these little nostalgia pockets here at the end, but like it really is something, isn't it? Like Blockbuster was just like such a gift.
It was because it felt like a piece of like nerddom that everyone that's in there is here to watch a movie. The people that are working there, they love watching movies. That you can buy like snacks and popcorn.
Yeah, they sell popcorn and candy. So like it was really like, oh my god, this is bringing me back so much.
It was how the kids say, a vibe.
It was one of those like you just had to be there because like Friday after school, renting a game or a movie like Friday after school for the weekend. Oh man,
I remember
buying some popcorn, some candy.
Whenever we would drive even close to a Blockbuster.
I know.
'Cause I'm like, can we go in? Can we go in? Can we go in? We wanted to so bad.
It was so interesting. Like even just going into Blockbuster kind of had an energy to it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't quite like anything else.
There wasn't another place like it.
And now like we just don't have that.
No, like
it's not to say that we don't have
Blockbuster, Toys R Us, GameStop. Ooh, two out of three gone.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, did you ever use Redbox when that came around?
A little.
Redbox
we
was
didn't
cool.
use a lot of Redbox.
Yeah, I didn't use it too
felt
much.
like going back to them.
And have you ever used GameFly?
I didn't use GameFly, but I was familiar with it because my aunt used the service that came before. She used a video renting service that I think GameFly was based off of.
Yeah, my sister used GameFly, and that was pretty cool. I remember I think I rented like 1 or 2 games from GameFly, but she used it a fair bit to play stuff. So I don't know. I saw that was kind of a fun little trip down memory lane.
That took me back, man.
All right, we've got one question for each of us now.
Okay.
So this one's going to be for you. Hey, Paul and Alec, though this is mostly for Alec. My birthday's coming up, and I want to introduce my wife into a Gundam series. I'm more of an old school Gundam fan. That's to say, UC Timeline and some of the old OVAs like War in the Pocket, 8th MS Team, F91, and Stardust Memories. Do you guys have any recent Gundam shows that you liked that would make a good entry-level series? I grew up with G Gundam and Wing, but I think both are a bit too campy. I have not watched past 00 and checked out G-Quux because Anno worked on it. Alec, I'd love to hear your recommendation. Additionally, Paul, what are your thoughts of the Gundam franchise? I know Alec and I are big fans, but I completely understand that some people aren't drawing the idea of giant robots. What would you look for in a show that has giant mecha? Would love to hear your honest thoughts from Oscar.
I mean, Paul actually hasn't missed a new Gundam series in a long time.
Yeah, thanks to Alec, I guess. I've watched IBO, I've watched Witch from Mercury, and I've watched G-Quux, along with most, I think, of the movies that have come out within that time. I've pretty much been dragged to a theater to see them.
Because it took you to see Gundam NT. We saw, what was it? You didn't see Hathaway because Hathaway was on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another one that you definitely watched, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, as far as finding a Gundam recommendation anime, and it's for your wife,
I would... You first, sorry.
So I think if you're being hesitant at suggesting the anime that you already watch, then I think the safest bet, and I think Paul's probably going to say the same one, The Witch from Mercury.
100%. Yeah, all of the recent stuff I've watched is good. Witch from Mercury is easily the most accessible. So I'm going to make some bold claims here, and you can back me up on whether or not these are actually true.
Okay.
So I'm going to be speaking about matters of which I don't know much about, but I'm going to make some assumptions. I think that it does a good job of leading you in with something that is pretty lighthearted and feels pretty fresh, but later gets into a lot of the heavier themes that Gundam is known for towards the tail end.
Yeah.
But it guides you along in a way that does not feel overwhelming, because something that has always been difficult for me to like, that's made Gundam unattractive, isn't that I don't like the giant robots. I always thought that those were really cool. It's more that like, it was always so heavily steeped in, we did a story about this on the podcast, like an interview with one of the guys who directs them or something. They would be so heavily steeped in like kind of war stories, like, you know, just interplanetary like politics and war, and like, unfortunately for me, that is not one of my like interest bases. Like, I'm just not that interested in that stuff.
We gotta reinvent you. We gotta get you on like that World War II movie kick with like.
See, and there's some people where like that's their personality.
We gotta get you there, and then we can ease you in.
I'm not like, stuff like that doesn't really grip me as much. But I think Witch from Mercury was cool because it's like, you know, like, it's the Gundam stuff.
We're going to robot school.
Yeah, but they're going to robot school. But then there's also like a little bit of, you know, war and like rebellion in there, and then also like kind of some character
What's the enemy? Capitalism and war.
And there's also some like character introspection. Who's a Suletta kind of starts off as a seemingly nice character, but then like
innocent and shy.
But there's more to her and her like sort of upbringing than meets the eye, and so
she turns out to be quite courageous and a little bloodthirsty.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's more dimension to her. So I was gonna say Witch from Mercury for sure.
I think the Witch from Mercury makes a great intro point for a lot of non-Gundam watchers. It still has the value that as a Gundam fan you need to get out of a show to feel like, it was successful.
Right.
But it's a way more palatable entry into the Gundam franchise.
That's the word I wanted.
They don't have to know anything about it. It doesn't try to get too edgy too fast.
It's not like IBO where you'll just be like suffering through the end of it.
Edge fest, start to finish.
Well, IBO, it's not even that it's like edgy. It's just that like they're just suffering a lot.
Man, when Mikazuki shot Crank, just
okay,
in the very first
edgy.
Episode,
it's a little edgy. But my thing is just like I liked IBO's first season just fine. It was cool. Mikazuki's strong and like he's kind of clearly thrown off. By the second season, it's just depressing.
Oh yeah, it's that second season's
like
tough.
It's
a tough season
because you start to realize like everything is just. You can kind of sense the inevitable like this can't end well starts to creep in, and like Mikazuki's condition is just getting worse, and they
just start killing people,
and like Orga's like it's just all of it's bad. Like people are dying, and you start to realize. These kids aren't actually going to have anything good happen to them.
Like, these kids are not going to be all right.
Yeah. They're going to be abused, misused, mistreated, killed, or had, like, their relatives or families killed. There's, like, one character in it where, like, he, like, almost gets to experience what romance is. Before he even, like, knows that that's what it is that he's feeling. Like, this bitch gets killed. And it's, like, it's so...
He doesn't last much longer.
And he like... goes on like this outrage, this rage over it, and then he dies too, and then like everyone basically ends up dead, and like it's really sorry if I spoiled this for some.
Well, no, I mean,
if you made it this far in a podcast, it's brutal. I can't, in good faith, recommend IBO to like a casual.
I typically
watcher.
don't recommend Iron Blooded Orphans, not because I don't like it, but because it gets there. It really does.
And G-Quux, it looked like it was going to be an easy recommend, but after finishing it, I don't think that I can recommend it.
Yeah, by the last half of G-Quux, there's so many UC references, and it's steeped in so much space Jedi science, pseudoscience. I mean, that's not too good for a beginner either. It's just not. But yeah, The Witch from Mercury. That's our answer.
Yeah, I think Witch from Mercury is an easy one.
But depending on the type of anime that she likes, you could try the Gundam Build Fighters series.
Oh yeah,
which is kind of a Beyblade take on Gundam. Not at all edgy, but like fun.
Much more fun
cool.
and lighthearted and like kind of
They battle with their plastic models.
Okay, and this question is for me. This one comes from YouTube. Hey guys, question for Paul. I heard you talk about Smash Melee and Slippy a couple times in the pod. Could you talk a bit more about your time and experience with the game? Do you ever go to locals, practice tech skill, play ranked, watch any major tournaments? Do you have any favorite pro players? Who's your main or other characters that you play? Sorry for the long question. Thanks for inventing podcasts, guys. It's good to know that people are aware that we.
All right, guys, I'm going to sit back for Paul's answer.
Well, I'm going to try to keep it short-ish. I mean, I know I can go on a bit. Yeah, I've been playing Melee. I mean, technically, like, I played it as a kid or whatever, but like I've pretty much played it competitively since like 2012, 13. So I guess it's been a while, and I watch it a lot, and I do practice a lot. I will say though, I kind of go in and out with how much I play like online Melee because I kind of have like 3 different games I rotate my committed time between, which is Final Fantasy 14. Master Duel, and like Melee. So when I'm practicing, I'm not grinding Melee a lot. It's like, okay, I play this almost every night, but I don't play the other 2. But then like sometimes it switches and I'll just have like a long stint of Master Duel or a long stint of Final Fantasy. It's been a while since I've played Melee last, mostly because I'm like more into Master Duel for an extended period of time. And as for, I main Sheik. I also have a Fox secondary. I play ranked a good bit. I watch major tournaments a lot, even though I don't play. I also watch Ultimate. Ultimate, unfortunately, to me is for better or worse, I actually think the more interesting game to watch tournaments for right now, just because like the whole Five Gods of Melee storyline is kind of over, so that's not as, I don't find as much like exciting rivalries and storylines in Melee right now. You remember like, Hungry Box, Mewtwo King, Mega, all that. Yeah, you kind of vaguely know.
What's that? Mewtwo King, Hungry Box, Leffen.
Yeah, like that's the gist of it. And a lot of them are like not in the game anymore. In fact, like Hungry Box is the only like current active player of those. So, but like Ultimate's pretty cool. I know some people don't like watching Ultimate because like they feel like its metagame is sort of stale. People don't like Steve and like
the game is done.
Sonic and Game & Watch and stuff.
Long time.
Yeah, so Melee's been done for a long time. But I don't mind watching Ultimate. I think it's fun. I don't really know that I have like any favorite players. I kind of just think like every top player is really interesting in their own way. Like some people really respect like, MK Leo and Spargo. They're kind of like, they use sword characters. They're kind of known for being really like cool and stylish and aggressive. And they're really fun to watch. But then also like, I like the Sonic player Sonics. Even though a lot of people don't like watching Sonic, he can be kind of campy. But like I think that he really brings a lot of skill to the character. It's like not a character that's easy to execute with. And even like the Steve players, which I know like people hate Steve and they're like, it's killing Smash Ultimate or whatever. I don't really mind it. Like I think it's kind of just whatever. Like I like watching. For me, the most interesting thing is that like because people don't want Steve players to win or like they don't like Game & Watch, Sonic, Min, some of those are similar characters. I kind of like it when they're on screen because now it gets to, then now there's like a story there. Like
no one wants this person to win.
Yeah, like no one wants this character to win, but like when they do win and everyone's mad, it's kind of like I almost get a little bit of joy out of that because it's like, but like also I like to see like a person overcome like a Steve player that they've had trouble with. So like, I don't know, for me, I'm more interested in just seeing good players put their all into it and like, grovel in defeat or like, kind of celebrate in victory. Like I want to see interesting stuff. I think that if we saw all of either side of it all the time, it would get boring either way. So that's my Smash Bros thing.
Yeah, I don't play Melee.
Yeah. So I do think that Smash is in need of an update though. I think that like whenever the Switch 2 Smash gets announced, it'll be a welcome. Ultimate came out
I think they should return to the old roster.
The old, like the 64 roster?
Yes, and that's it. That's the only characters.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. A lot of people do think that they need to like, because like the Ultimate has like 85 characters or something. Many. And a lot of people think they need to like slash that heavily and like go back to characters like Samus, Link, and Mario who have been woefully misrepresented in Smash. And like all their new games have completely new power sets and moves and items. And like
it's impressive to be behind on like Samus from Metroid when Metroid hasn't even had a new game in years.
Like it's just because like what a lot of people will say is like if a new character gets in Smash, like Inkling from Splatoon or Min from ARMS, they go to such lengths to kind of really represent their base game and their gameplay and their attacks. But then like Mario is still sitting here using his moveset from the first game, and like he's had Classic. Super Mario Odyssey with like Cappy, and Link's had like Breath of the Wild with all these like items and stuff, and like Samus doesn't shoot ice missiles or anything. Like they haven't
even bothered incorporating her skills from Metroid Dread.
Yeah, so I think that cutting the roster could actually be a good thing. But that's it. That's my Smash Bros thing, and that's the podcast.
So we'll catch you guys in
the next one. Pass turn.